first thing we need to figure out is what is the greatest common factor of negative 3x squared and positive 12x. One of the terms is a negative, so we always want to factor out the negative, okay?
It can't be higher than...
Exactly, it can't be higher than one of the terms, exactly. So the greatest common factor, we know it's a 3, but like I said, if the question starts with a negative, I want you to factor out the negative. So we're going to make it negative 3. So the greatest common factor is negative 3x. Okay, so the greatest common factor is negative 3x. That's step 1. What's step 2? Now what do I need to do once I figured that out? Divide each term by negative 3x. Watch your signs, okay? Once we figure out the greatest common factor, we're going to take that and divide each term by that. So the whole point of factoring is to figure out what times what multiplied together gives us the answer. So to write it as a product, what do we always put in front? What's the first thing I'm going to put? Negative 3x, because if it can be divided by negative 3x, it means that if we work backwards, it's multiplied by negative 3x, right? Now we have to solve it. What is negative 3x squared divided by negative 3x? What's a negative divided by a negative? Okay. What's 3 divided by 3? 1, or we don't have to write 1. Well, I'll write it. What's x squared divided by x to the power of 1? What's x to the power of 2 divided by x to the power of 1? What do we do with the exponents when we're dividing? So what's 2 take away 1? So it's x to the power of 1. Do I need to write x to the power of 1, or can I just write x? You can just write x, and we don't actually have to include that 1 there. I can just leave it as x. Okay, so I've done the first part. Now I have to do the second part. Michael, what's positive 12 divided by negative 3? Positive divided by negative is a negative. What's 12 divided by 3? And then x divided by x cancels out. We just leave it as 4. That's it. That's the answer. This is factored form. You factored it. Okay, factoring is the opposite of expanding. We're working backwards. Check to make sure it's right. How can we check? Go backwards again. What's negative 3x times x? Negative 3x squared. That's what I had. What's negative 3x times negative 4? Positive 12x. That's what we had. So this is correct. So finding the greatest common factor. Oops. Greatest common factor is just 3. Shh. Like I said, these are not divisible by x because only 2 of the terms have an x and the other one doesn't. Greatest common factor is 3, so we're going to divide each term by 3, and then we write it as a product. Greatest common factor goes in front, and we have to figure out what times what gives me the answer. 3x squared divided by 3. What's 3 divided by 3? 1, so we can just write it as x squared. What's negative 9 divided by 3? Negative 3, and there's an x. And then positive 12 divided by 3 is positive 4. This is correct. This is the answer. Okay, so the greatest common factor, 3x. So as Keith said, we're dividing everything by 3x. And we write it as a product. 3x times something. Well, 12x divided by 3x is 4. Positive divided by a positive is a positive. 3x squared divided by 3. X to the power of 2 divided by x to the power of 1 is just x to the power of 1, or I can just write it as x. And that's it. That's the answer. This is factored form.